GRASSMEN was, there was...
Where did it come from?
Well, GRASSMEN came from probably primarily driven by my love for all things tractors, machinery, silage, farming, all of the above. And so we set about making our first DVD, and it was called It's in the Blood. And basically, I went to a local fella in Ballymoney, great fella by the name of Davy Campbell. I had got his name through a customer of mine who had got him to make T-shirts for the Girls' Brigade. Mm-hmm. That's, you ought to go to the, you know, you're looking T-shirts done. Go you to, you know the conversation that we have. Because I often say life is not about what you know. Life and success is about who you know and how you work with people that you know. But anyway, phone call, rings him up, Davey. Tell you what it is. He goes, you what? I says, I was thinking of making a few T-shirts with this. What? Who? GRASSMEN. And I remember taking him the cover of the first DVD that we had made, and it had the wee like grass strokes on it, and he goes to me straight away, he says, they'll sell. I says, aye, you just what, you know. No, he says, they'll sell. And me and him got on like a house on fire because he's a Tottenham Hotspur fan. So from day one, we were able to have a coffee and chat about Spurs and all the rest of it. So we hit it off, and literally I priced T-shirts and stuff, and we had the spare cash for 17 T-shirts. We bought 17 polo T-shirts, literally.
Right, this is the setup.
The setup from the very first show, which was on the 2nd of April. I do believe that was Good Friday. Now you're asking a lot from my memory. 2nd of April 2010 was the very first sale made under the name of GRASSMEN. And it was on a white table, that size, with a wee money tin, 17 T-shirts, and a couple of hundred DVDs.
Okay.
And a TV that we actually got our talked the whole hotel into what space they give us, because there's a TV behind it, so we
used it.
We took a DVD player with us and we played a wee loop. And that's what we did. That was sale one, and I remember that night, that first show was a Saturday, no, a Good Friday and the Saturday, and we sold all our T-shirts and we sold all our DVDs, and it was like, oh boy, we've there's a business here.
There's hunger for this.
And we were very, very, very sensible now. We went back to Davey, who was the embroidery guy, give him basically all the money, and says, right, that's what we made, go again, what do they make us? And we started the business that way. And from day one right up until today, that's the one thing I would be extremely proud of. Whilst I have a degree in economics and management, I don't employ a lot of those principles in the running of GRASSMEN, or whenever we're having our meetings. We don't believe in borrowed money. We don't believe in all of these things. We have took it from day one right up until what it is today, slowly as we can afford it, doing it. And I think that's the one thing that has stuck to us, gives us a little bit of strength and depth. And from that moment, that's 10 years ago, it has, the growth in those 10 years of GRASSMEN has just been phenomenal. From that one T-shirt and that one DVD to the range of products that's literally behind us in one of our show trailers.
Yeah.
And I do look at it, and I'm a little bit overwhelmed, to be honest with you, where it all come from. Now, a lot of the stuff nowadays, I don't any more than get to even know it's coming, because we've been very blessed. We're in a position that as we have grown, we have took on employment. People have came on board, people that specialise in our shows and how things look and all the rest of it. But
it's got a job in itself.
It's became a job. However, one thing that we might laugh and joke, but when it comes to show season or being there, we'll never be too far away.
No.
We like to be there and make sure everything's sort of to our standard and as we see it. But that is basically how GRASSMEN came about. It came about taking a risk, chasing your dream, believing that you can make something happen, and that was the birth of GRASSMEN. That table was the birth of GRASSMEN. And if anybody needs a symbol that you may, GRASSMEN's 10 years old, and what I often say to myself, I stand beside kids at shows, as we all know, and take pictures, and you maybe ask the age of a kid, 4, 5, and you're like, you were -5 when this started. If you get what I'm saying. Yeah. That's a complete new generation that only sees this, only sees the growth, whereas the older people that have been about since day one, they've seen the growth and they understand where it has come from and where we're trying to get to. So, but the other way I look at it is when I see that young 5 or 6 year old standing for a picture beside you or Kirsty or me or whoever is on the stand with us, that tells us there's new blood. There's always new blood, and we're able to develop the brand for that or look towards that.
Really and truly, we're seeing the second generation now coming into.
Yeah, not something was thought about on day one.
No.
On day one, it was, could we make this fly? Could we literally make videos about boys cutting silage and sell them? That's what day one was about.
But is it fair to say that GRASSMEN's made farming cool?
I really hope so. At the end of the day, I'm as cool as ice,
Oh.
No, I'm joking. GRASSMEN, for me, the one thing I wanted to do, look, I was teased a lot at school. Not bullied. Bullied would be the wrong word. Just going to be straight down the middle. Bullied would definitely be the wrong word. Don't think you would have bullied me at school, if I'm honest. But teased.
About being...
A Bursey. A Bursey.
Well,
A Bursey was a farmer. Bursey. This was what everybody said. Hey, Bursey. Bursey. And I was like, I never liked that because I lived for it, loved it. So I was teased a lot, and I made myself a promise that I was going to do my best to make agriculture cool. The second thing...
That is cool.
Well, there's nothing cooler.
What cooler industry is there?
No, but I suppose for me, and there was a time when it maybe wasn't, maybe I'm old enough to remember that it was a little bit, but now, there's no question about it. You look at the pride people are taking in tractors, and it used to be that old tractors, the bottom end of any market, this is where the economics and the sense talking comes, the bottom end of the market has always been propped up by foreign countries and tractors going off to whether it's into Africa or
for a
all
second
that, for,
life,
for
really.
a second life, because we're done with it. And as now we're starting to, not all of the cases, but as now we're starting to buy a lot of these tractors up ourselves, do them up, and keep a bit of a bottom end in that market. But yeah, I hope we have helped to make it cool, and factual and informative and enjoyable. And that was one of the things I wanted to do, particularly to give young people who maybe like me, who would have been teased a bit, give them, be able to be, give them that little bit of support and let them know that behind it all, there's a lot of people out there.
It's okay to be involved.
Absolutely. And I suppose one of the other thoughts I had was always make it cool. And I grew up in a farm, working in a farm to my cousin James. And my cousin James, who we have featured.
James's farm's on a couple.
James's farm is on a couple. I mean, this is the beauty about being in my possession. There may not be understood by everybody, but there's a reason there are certain people on certain products. Is just because I can and we want to have that, that little bit of thing. But my cousin James Campbell practically, in my opinion, reared me. It was like a second home, and I learned to milk at a very young age with him and do all the tractor work, and it was all John Deere's, and that's where my ultimate love of the old school John Deere comes
from.
But on that particular farm, James was married to my cousin, and my cousin Jean, she fed the calves. James's mother, Mary, they fed the calves, milked the cows. They worked hard on that farm the whole time, and I always remember, saying to myself, it's seen as such a male-dominated industry.
Aye.
But yet, with all, behind the scenes, on many, many farms we go to, between the contractors and whatever, well, as a salesman travelling around for years, I'm not going to say what I really think, but as I always said, I always knew who the Minister of Home Affairs was. And the backbone in a lot of family units was always, depending whether it was wife or, I suppose today, wife, partner, girlfriend, whatever, we have to say to keep ourselves right. But and that was one of the other things I always wanted to do was, promote women in agriculture, promote women in the job. And to be honest with you, I didn't mean to do as good a job as I think I did. I don't think any of us meant to do as good a job as we think we did. It just worked.
Snowballed, didn't it?
We ended up with Kirsty here, and it was just, I don't need to talk much about that, because it's just, there'll be no one watching this who'll not know what I mean.
No.
You can't have eight or nine, I don't know what it is, 8 or 9 million hits on a video. And
kind of opened the floodgate, that, didn't it?
It did, and from that, I don't care what anyone says, from that to now, it's become so much more open, and you can see it. I know the world's changing, I'm not taking credit for it, but as long as I feel we helped a little bit, there are a lot of young girls in that industry now that are more open about it. There always was, but it was back to the, wasn't really cool to say.
I know.
Whereas now it is, and now it's totally and utterly accepted. I mean, when I first passed my lorry test, if you'd have seen a lady driver, you would nearly now it's still not loads and loads, but there are a lot more.
There's
a lot more, and I think that's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
So that was one of the things that I loved about the journey of GRASSMEN, is promoting ladies in agriculture, and it really, really worked, to be honest with you.
Yeah. It got to a stage, I suppose, where you were able to give a little back. Was that an important thing for you?
For me personally, now, there's a little bit of doctors differ, patients die maybe in this side of the business, but for me, from day one, charity was important. But at the beginning,
Like it was there from the start, to be fair.
It was there from the start, Gary, at the beginning. The problem is sometimes people, how will I describe this without coming across wrong? The second DVD that we ever produced was Full of the Pipe, and we held an open night, and it was for charity. We did really well in the third, and it was Marie Curie and muscular dystrophy at that time. And we stayed with Marie Curie and muscular dystrophy for a few years because we felt that it was always important to give a little back. As we became bigger and slightly more, I suppose, successful and had one or two more employees, we started to think things maybe need to change a little bit, and maybe need to do something a wee bit maybe more than just maybe the few quid that we were doing. But the few quid that we were doing was a big thing at the time, and this is all part of growth and what you physically can and cannot do. And so I suppose there was a lot of very, very personal reasons behind why I wanted to change the style of charity work and what we were doing charity work for, and the focus of the charity work. And you know, this is the place to talk about the success and the growth of GRASSMEN, but the very bottom line on it is coming from a situation of being told I couldn't have children, to being blessed with a wee boy through an awful lot of medical intervention, to the realization that a lot of people struggle to have children, something you never think about when you think you're normal and healthy and all the rest of it. And a lot of people struggle to have children, but a lot of people also struggle to keep their children. That sounds very wrong, maybe the way I've worded that, but there's a lot of illness and a lot of kids. Things that, again, I think when you're growing up and you're running fast, and unless it's in your own family, you're shielded from. So from the moment in our Duncan was born, I said, I suppose you and I had the conversation at the time. I says, Guy, because things had changed here at GRASSMEN a lot that year as well. But I said to you, Gary, we need to do something. We're changing our focus from Marie Curie and muscular dystrophy to children. And because of the fact I've been blessed with, and you were behind me 100% on that move. But that wasn't that we think any less of Marie Curie or any less of muscular dystrophy. That was because my focus had changed, and it was something I wanted to do, and I must admit I was a little bit. But whenever I started telling you about my crazy ideas, you settled down a bit. And that's exactly what we did. And we had made a promise. I suppose ultimately to the big man upstairs, and we'd said, look, if you can sort this wee mission out, my company will work hard for you. And that was exactly, you know, I'd have no qualms or issues saying that. That's exactly what happened. And in GRASSMEN, a promise is a promise, and that's something we would always preach among ourselves, that if you promise someone something, we have to do it no matter what, no matter whether we're kicking ourselves for agreeing to it or not. So first thing we did was something we actually did together. You enjoyed that one. That first thing we did together was the run.
That's probably one of the best memories from ever being, from being here. Like that was just unreal.
Yeah. No, there's no question about that. The business had came through a tough time, and little did we know we were just on the eve of what I would call exponential growth. We didn't know that at the time, but money wasn't plentiful. We weren't just, on beans and toast as such, but money wasn't plentiful. But because the wee man was here, he says, Gary, we're taking a load to Romania.
I remember you telling me that one.
And I remember you looking at me going, son, what? And I says, we're going.
First time the trailer's going.
Well, I broke it in over a couple of days.
And then it was like, aye.
We need someone to take the trailer.
Planted the seed.
Do you know how that started?
But do you, aye? Yeah, I remember it was the security guard and
Tower Centre.
Tower Centre.
Our first gamble at a pop-up shop in the Tower Centre.
Yeah.
And the security guard was a lovely Christian man. And he came to me and him got talking. Maybe the both of us that night, was it? I can't remember.
because I remember you telling me that you had been speaking to this man and you were going to give them the fridge trailer because they were stuck for a trailer to get loaded and all the rest of it. But maybe you had agreed to go at that time anyway. So.
Truthfully, can't remember. I actually can't remember. I think I had agreed to giving him the trailer because it was agreed that the trailer was the hardest thing to get and that they probably could get a lorry or a company to pull the trailer. The more I gave him the trailer, the more I thought I wanted it to be our truck pulling it. But it was agreed by him and that security guard. Now he's still there, still a great man. And it's funny. There I was really nervous about opening up this shop. Like genuinely, almost shaking hand, nervous. This was a big thing, paying this money, taking this little business into a retail shop in the Tower Centre in Ballymena. So there wasn't a lot of sleep for a few nights. And I remember the stuff being moved in, and I remember trying to get it all pulled together, and I remember...
us trying to make a shop look nice, huh?
Goodness sake. What did we know about retail?
Nothing. Absolutely zero.
Or a shop. But we did it. And one of the reasons that myself and this security man got talking again was we had to go in the shop, and slowly but surely, it picked up. But the way it worked out that year, I decided, because it was new, I wanted to spend a lot of time in the shop. So I literally spent weeks in the shop myself throughout the day. Gary or someone would have come in at night and I was learning all about...
So you were doing it ourselves, like really?
We were doing it ourselves, but it was awesome. Do you remember there used to be the wee... People wonder why I have an issue with this here. This story's why. So there was a wee coffee shop in the middle of the Tower Centre at that time. Costa or nothing was there. So I had the wee girl that run it was very, very good. So she knew exactly what time to bring the sausage rolls and the coffee.
Any time.
Well, but so I didn't have to leave the shop. We couldn't understand why the person in the shop before us was, before I went into the shop, that had to close the shop so much, to go convenience breaks and stuff and whatever it is you have to do. But we got a wee system going. It was pretty neat now. So everything was brought to me. And I remember Gary and everybody saying to me, only you. Only you would have people pending you in the shopping centre. And that wee shop went, which was sad. But we actually had a superb, was it a 6 or 8 week lease? I can't remember what it was, pop-up shop. Fantastic. We did it the next couple of years.
Did I?
And then...
Actually, it was started because there was whenever we were in the move to here and we're doing the shipping from across the yard there was actually too many people calling to get stuff, and that was an issue with getting the Christmas orders out, and we knew we needed to do something for the next year, and that was what spurred the thing.
Here's really, I suppose, here's really...
Well, like it started off from...
Here's really embroidery and editing and dispatch, and I suppose we didn't really, it's a working farm, and we didn't really want traipse of people coming in, and that is right. I remember, I think it was you or Denise, I don't know who had the idea, I'm blaming you, but it might have been Denise, it was maybe the both of you.
Well, I used to getting through under the bus, it was fine.
And we did
At least it worked.
It worked. It worked. And then, within 2 to 3 years, a guy that owned another shopping centre in the town, he had sold it and then bought this shopping centre. This shopping centre was in administration and a bit of a business move, and all of a sudden it was booming. Our
centre,
tower centre was getting busier and busier and busier, and we were basically told, look guys, don't being funny or smart or awkward, but this pop-up shop thing is not going to work going forward because we're getting too busy. We're going to be in a position within the next year so that we'll be able to rent that unit out. So we had a big decision to make. Did we go full-time or not? And we sat down with the owner, and you and I went and met him and had a coffee with the owner, and he said, look, I really want you here. It's unique, it's different. So a wee bit of work, a wee bit of homework, a big commitment, you know, to go from 6 or 8 weeks. At that time, it would have been rates free because of whatever the deal was for a pop-up shop to paying the big rates bill, to paying the full year. It was massive. And again, you're like, is the brand strong enough in order to withhold this? But it has been, which has been
amazing.
But we didn't, you know, I know Denise and Dave and sort of took the design into the shop. It was well done. The shop was cool. Yeah. It's really, really looks the part. There's a few lovely touches to it. The front bonnet or the front of the lorry is the counter, and it's you know, I walk into the shop and sometimes take a wee look around or have a wee chat with the staff or whatever, and I am like, you know, this is professional. And sometimes I get a wee chill down the back of my neck where you're like, how's this even working? But don't get me wrong, retail's hard.
It's hard work now. It is.
You wouldn't be rushing to open up 20 now. You'd just have to take a breather and think about it, you know, to be honest with you. But it's not my thing. I hate to say this. I personally have no massive love of like a retail shop. It's not my thing. It's our thing. It's not my thing. My thing is still tractors and lorries. You know, and that's pretty much it in a nutshell. And shoes. Anything that means you're not in an office, I tend to be happier.